Now let's delve into the start of Arise 360. Let's talk about broadcast media. It has evolved so much in the past 2 decades. I mean, from the era that we had more TV, radio shows, everyone was all about what they could read on the papers, what you could get at the 9 o'clock news. With the help of the internet, we've seen other means where people have explored to creating content like vlogs and podcasting. Now, one person that has definitely, in the most intriguing way possible, carved a niche for himself through his podcast is Emmanuel Taymesan. He created TV Tay, and he joins me on Arise 360 right now. Tea with Tay. Should I call you Tay, Taymesan, Emmanuel? I mean, what works best for you?
Taymesan.
Taymesan.
Or Tay-Tay.
Tay-Tay! First of all, I have to say, I love your podcast. I have a friend of mine. You know, he doesn't live in Nigeria. Every evening, literally, this man would sit with his wife, and then they used to have like movie days or movie dates, and they would all sit down, put on your podcast like they were watching football, watch you have conversations, and argue amongst themselves.
That's why I do it.
Yes,
that's so
and he's like, listen, this guy he's the best conversationalist I've ever seen. And the truth is, we have so many podcasts. At some point, it even became like a trend. Like, everybody should just start doing their own podcast, though. But really, though, what are your thoughts on the fact that it's becoming like, last, if you don't have anything to do, just go and do podcast?
I don't think that's what the case is. I'm very happy that, more people are waking up to the idea of what a podcast is, because it also helps us with better negotiations, better sponsorships, where it's almost becoming an industry the way radio was at some point, So I'm not bothered about the amount of people who are coming on. I feel like it's also going to help with the visibility of podcasting generally in Nigeria, because a lot of people still don't know what a podcast is. I mean, we that we're in this space, we understand it better, but if you probably go to some parts of Nigeria, they don't even know what a podcast is. So the more, the merrier.
I know, right? The more, the merrier. Essential. Yeah. Now, with regards to you came into this. I mean, it started out as you sipping your tea, literally, because in the how would I say, the pop culture sense, tea is like the hot gist.
What's happening?
What's happening. And it started with you sipping your tea. How do you say, my people? How do you?
Good morning, Instagrammers.
Good morning, Instagrammers. Yeah. And then you sip your tea, and then you drop some tea, and then it evolved to this podcast. So would you say this is something you've always wanted to do?
So I honestly wanted a TV show. I wanted a TV show that people would come to and feel very comfortable. Yeah. Like you're coming into my house to sip tea with me. But at the time, a podcast network had reached out to me to say, there's something called a podcast. I'm like, what is podcast? I had no idea what it was at the time. But Acorn, the podcast network that I belonged to, was moving to Nigeria, and they were also offering visuals. So they explained that the podcast was like radio on demand, but then again, it came with visuals. So it meant that, I wanted a TV show, but this one also came with visuals. So once they sold me the idea, it made sense. I thought, as opposed to doing a TV show, let's do a podcast, because they already had all the facilities for what I wanted. So I ran with that.
I love that. And now let's talk about the finances around it, because a lot of people might be like, well, it's just podcasting. Yeah. But is it just podcasting? Are there like financials around it? Is this something you can earn from? How does it work in the financial parlance and the economy? Because I know Spotify recently put in as much as $100,000.
Yeah.
But that $100,000, is it for the infrastructure to back up the podcasting, like social media platforms, or is it for these podcasters to create necessary spaces in terms of equipment, facilities, to do what they do?
Yeah. So starting out the podcast is not as cheap as people think. I mean, you can get your mics and get a couple of things, but for proper visuals, for just generally, even just setting up a studio anywhere, like even the studio, it takes a lot of money and time and investment. So I'm currently signed to a network that offers me that for a percentage of the podcast. So it means that we split whatever revenue comes in, right? So Spotify decided to support podcasters across Africa, because I feel like Spotify is one of the platforms where you can listen to podcasts. So I think they took it upon themselves to say, you know what, we're going to give 13 podcasters this $100,000 shared amongst them to ensure that, if there are things that you need, like mics, promotions, cameras, we can support with that. So that's really what happened.
That's amazing what they did.
Yeah.
But in terms of challenges, like we are in a space where really everyone is on TV.
Right.
Not even just TV, everyone is on social media.
Right.
So even doing a Rise 360, I constantly have to let them know, guys, we've got to post on social media as well.
Yes.
Because it's not enough to just be on TV.
Yeah.
Podcasting primarily thrives on the platform, so you need to be just as good at podcasting as you are on social media.
Yes,
What
yes.
are other challenges that you might say you've had to experience doing this?
I think that, having Acorn as my network, like the network that I belong to, already takes away some of the challenges with sorting out camera guys, with sorting out sound and distribution, right?
Yeah.
Ideally, a podcaster who's doing the thing on their own will struggle with like distribution, getting the thing out there. But for me, I feel like my major problem might just be, sometimes you have the best conversation. You think this is the best conversation that you've had in a while, and it just doesn't do the numbers. That thing kills me, my sister, because I start working so hard, and you think, and it's even the ones that you don't even think they're going to do, or that they just go viral, and you're like, what? So at this point, I'm just like, let me just do the work. Whatever happens. Also, like, what other challenges do I face? Getting guests, timelines, also because I do a lot of celebrity guests as well. They have to work according to their schedule. But then again, I service a community of people who want this thing out on Friday.
Yeah.
So it means that if I shoot it on Thursday, it must come out on Friday. Regardless. So
yeah.
Those are the sort of hiccups that I face. But other than that, I think it's a new space for me that I'm learning about and I'm enjoying.
I love it. Now, Taymesan, I have to tell you, you are you're pretty much of a star, like a celeb, big man inside this podcasting stuff. I'm not joking, you are. Like, there's a lot of people that would say, there's a few podcasts out there that I would say, I said what I said is one of those as well.
Oh, yes.
Love what
I
the
love
ladies
them.
are doing.
Those are the queens that walk this path before
us. Yes, they are doing a fantastic job, and I said what I said. I've actually, in my car, it's just podcasts that I, vibe to.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I'm one of those people, yes. I'm one of those sitting in the car and just like argue with the host, like, exactly, you should have done it this way. Yeah. But there's also people out there, and I feel more people than we can count that have this same gift. Did you always know this is what you were going to do, for instance? Like from secondary school, did you know you were going to be Taymesan of Tea with Tay?
So, as far back as I remember, right?
Yeah.
I've always been talented. Like, and it's not to toot my horn, but
I've just
I've always been this person, but I didn't know what my trajectory was going to become.
Yeah.
Or what it was going to be. I knew that I started tea with Tay from my 9 to 5 days, like just sipping the tea in the car and just saying stuff, right? But I knew that I wanted to end up as a TV presenter or an actor. I could do all of these things, but I didn't know how I was going to do each of them, the timeline for each of them. So I started doing these things one by one, and eventually started to open up. I would still do more and more things, but I feel like, I knew from the beginning, but I didn't know how things were going to pan out.
Do we have like a great infrastructure for podcasters within Nigeria? We don't?
So podcasting is so new. That's why I'm saying I said what I said, that the queens that walked this path before us.
Yeah.
Before now, they were the only girls that were doing podcasts to me, that I know, I knew of. So me coming to this scene and seeing other people coming to this scene, I'm just like, okay, this is new. This is really relatively new. I feel like podcasting just became popular in Nigeria. I don't think it's been up to 5 years, really. The girls are the ones that started this thing. So infrastructure is, thanks to brands like Spotify that decided to say, we're going to put money behind this. We're also going to help you guys with distribution. So I feel like the structure is growing slowly, and people like brands like Spotify are ahead of that conversation, right? So we expect that in the next 5-10 years, podcasting will be what radio was at some point.
Do you think Lagos, because I'm thinking of like Lagos is definitely a hotspot for entertainment and lifestyle. Do you think Lagos in itself should have a podcast?
But there are lots of Lagos focused podcasts.
But
there's one so Nigerian. There's some Lagos podcasts.
But when I say Lagos in itself, like backed up by the government, sponsored by the government. This is something that they do. We bring in various stakeholders across industries in Lagos. And why I ask this is the conversations around podcasts. I'm worried, Taymesan. I'll tell you why.
Why?
It's like if you are not talking about, the man must be the one to pay the bill.
Am I allowed to laugh like this? Am I allowed to laugh like this?
Listen, when you go on a date, you do not allow the woman to pay.
Yeah.
No, you cannot split 50-50. No, my boyfriend said that he will.
Somebody said that
Please.
podcast could cause our problem for this country.
I'm tired.
But to be honest,
do I have to talk about all those things to do a podcast?
So the truth is that these are the conversations we're already having as people in Nigeria and in Lagos, right? So podcasting is just literally conversations, talk, right? So, but as a podcaster, you're going to define what your niche is, what you're going to be about. For me, I decided that, you know what, I wanted healthy conversations. I wanted a space where my colleagues and other people who represent different things can come and feel like they're in a safe space to talk. So even when you come on my podcast, I tell you what are the things that are off limits. So we're not looking for clickbaits.
Okay.
We're not looking for blog posts from you. We're looking for honest conversations because I also service the community of young and upwardly mobile people who want to listen and be inspired by the guests that come on.
Yeah.
It might take a longer route to gain numbers, but then again, the quality of conversation is always going to be different, right? So every podcast has their niche. Whatever the podcasts that do the numbers, that talk about all the drama and they service a group of people who...
they do. Oh,
you know
wow.
what? And this group of people might not even... I might not be able to convert this group of people.
Yes.
So if they come to my podcast and say, I couldn't only talk. Why is all this depth? Please.
Yeah.
You understand? So I feel like, you know, different podcasts, different niche, they have different niche, you know, and people decide that, you know, this is what we're going to talk about.
Yeah.
There's some podcasts that focus on tech. There's some podcasts that focus on sex.
Yes.
Yeah. I have a friend who has a podcast that's focused on sex.
Some people are really going deep into this niche thing. Like
Yes.
people, and it's so beautiful because you ask yourself, how do you know so much about some of these things, you people? It's insane.
But imagine you started a podcast about presenting.
What now? About presenting, right?
About entertainment, about broadcasting.
Right?
You would serve a group of people who
That
think
love
that, you
this.
know,
Yeah.
I want to be a broadcaster, but you know, what's the valuable content for me to listen to or be inspired by? I feel like I'm mostly focused on people's journeys because I've always been intrigued by people's journeys. Like, how did you get here? How did you become a star? You know, away from all the noise of who is she dating or is she a celebrity? How, you know, 5-6 years before you became a star, what was going on in your life? Your background. Tell me about this so that people can also feel connected to, you know, the people that they are inspired by. You know, so she used to hawk before. You know, somebody who's hawking on the road is like, okay, I can be a star. I can still do better. You understand? So these stories help to inspire other people. That's my own niche. Your own niche can be podcasting, can be fashion, it can be anything.
Yeah, I love that. So podcasting 101 now, because there's so many people watching the show who might have thought about it like, oh my gosh, I want, procrastinating. Okay, now you have Taymesan on Arise 360. And Taymesan is going to tell everyone, 101, the top 5 things, if you can tick those boxes, you're ready to start your podcast.
Top 5?
Top 5.
I don't know about top 5. I'll do my best to give very good advice, right?
Yeah.
So I feel like, first of all, be very original with your content because you can start off faking the content or pretending, but after a while you go hook because it drives to my second point, consistency.
Yeah.
For the first season, I had a great time. And the second season, it became work. I'm in my third season, and I'm just like, this is serious work. But for you to stay relevant, you have to stay consistent. So one of the major advice that I will have for anybody who wants to start a podcast is to be very ready for that level of consistency. Because a couple of people started podcasts, as you said, they've fallen off. Like, you can't do it again, you understand? Lots of research is needed as well so that you are not feeding the sheep wrong information because at some point you become authority, on some certain issues. What's the last thing? Use social media a lot, please. Use social media to amplify the content that is already on
your platform.
Yeah.
All right, well, Taymesan, this has been such a beautiful conversation. Again, well done.
Thank you.
You
so
have
much.
like one person, or no, two, my friend and I. We absolutely love what you do. So just keep doing it. Amen. Amen.
God bless all of you that listen to TVC Pod. Please
Really?
subscribe,
Absolutely.
like, share, tell your friends to tell their friends. TVC Pod is the best thing in the podcasting space
in the
right
podcasting
now.
space. It actually is. So I would definitely recommend everyone to watch it. But thank you so much for joining me on the show today.
Thank you so much.
High
Well
five.
done. High five.
Bam.
Have a good evening.
You too.